Paige is graduating with a degree in sociology and anthropology. It appears to me that she has a significant passion, and that is a concern with the human condition, especially as they relate to gender. In her 4 years here, she has worked with helping to organize and present the Gender Studies Symposium, serving as chair for one of those years. Another passion appears to be wine. The things we can study in the name of academics, right? So she initially discovered her interest in the wine industry working with a professor here, Deborah Heath, who's one of her mentors. Paige made wine, specifically biodynamic wine, which has to do with the spirituality of wine in a non-religious context, the subject of her senior thesis, and will work in Brickhouse Vineyards as a tasting associate after she graduates. Interest in the human condition and wine. It seems to me that Paige will continue to make a positive impact on the world that will extend well beyond her time here at the college. I present the senior speaker for the class of 2012, Ms. Paige Glowacky.
I don't believe this happening.
Yeah, Paige. Yeah, Paige.
Go, Paigey.
Well, this is a little wild. So to start, I want to thank Dean Jordan for that lovely introduction. It's also a funny introduction. I have never been introduced before, and to have such a talented and successful woman introduce me is a true honor. Thank you. Secondly, I want to thank our commencement speaker, Dr. Siegelman, for his important words about optimism. As we begin to face the harsh realities of the world outside of this college, I believe that it's important to remind ourselves that we are bright, intelligent, talented young people, and there is much to be optimistic about. It was worth it. It was worth it. Look, I understand what I'm expected to do during this speech. I'm expected to tell you how the world is big and scary, but we've got a great education that will buttress all our future endeavors. I'm supposed to fill you with a great hope about our bright futures, tell you how our generation is going to fix the problems that the former generation created through the creativity and insight that only young people have. I'm supposed to warn you of the poor job market, but tell you that it will be okay. Recite an inspiring quote, congratulate you, thank your parents. But that would be so uniform, so orthodox, and at Lewis and Clark, we're anything but that. So let's forget about the future and the glory for a second and appreciate that what we just experienced these last 4 years was something significant and rare. Graduation isn't about wearing gowns of non-breathable fabric in the sun, notably compostable. It isn't about awkward dinners with relatives during which you will inevitably be forced to answer the question, so, what are you going to do now? Which you probably don't have an answer for. Side note, in my experience, I found that the answer is either reassuring or honest, but it usually isn't both. Graduation doesn't mean getting told over and over again how we are the future of America or the world or whatever. Graduation is about this moment right now, because of the simple fact that we get to be in this space together. I'm standing amongst the most beautiful, creative, and kind people I have ever met, getting the great privilege of feeling this extraordinary sense of community. When again in our lifetimes will we share such solidarity with 450 people? Most of us were 18 years old when we slept in those dorm rooms for the first night. Do you remember how young you were at 18? At 18, I was primarily one thing: confused. At 21, admittedly, I am still confused, but less so. On Friday, I was talking to Professor Oren Kozansky, who told me, the bad news is that feeling of confusion you feel doesn't really go away. Yes, it gets better and worse, but what you're feeling right now is what Thank you, Professor Kozansky, for those optimistic. The thing is he's probably right. But the confusion makes us better people. It makes us know ourselves more. It forces us to grow up, and over these past 4 years, we've grown up together. We found ourselves, and we found each other, and by some miracle, we've grown into adults. The amazing thing about today is that we don't just get to celebrate how pivotal these years were for us as a community. We also get to share this with the people who made it possible. Because as much as this ceremony is about us, it really should be more about them. Yes, we did something amazing, and yes, we worked hard, but our families, our professors, and this college have made it possible for us. These people who sit amongst us today have spent years working hard to make sure that our time here was worthwhile. There are people here today who are truly dedicated to making you happy. They've spent time trying to make us smarter people, better students, and most of all, giving us the tools to actually live up to how spectacular they believe us to be. Last fall, I was working on an independent study with my professor and friend, Deborah Heath. We sat down together after I turned in a rather mediocre paper. She looked me in the eye and said, "Paige, you can't con me anymore. You're too smart to write stuff like this. Rewrite it." That was probably the greatest moment of my academic career. And I'm not kidding, for a professor to care enough to give me a dose of tough love, and Lord knows I need it, is rare and valuable. We forget what a special place this is. We forget how special these people are. These life-changing relationships that we've had with professors, administrators, and staff actually don't happen at other places. We take it for granted, but the mere fact that I'm confident that all my professors know my name is incredible. We've had experiences we wouldn't have otherwise. Last summer, I worked with Professor Heath on her research on wine in Southern Oregon. And let me just pause and say that a liberal arts education is awesome. I really do mean it, though. The greatest thing Lewis and Clark has given me is how to think critically. And when you can do that, everything is complex and interesting. And something like wine changes from just a beverage to a web of relationships that extend around the globe. Wine has become a complex commodity that deserves not only a keen palate, but also a keen academic fascination. This research inspired my own thesis about wine in the Willamette Valley. Through this work, I met Lewis and Clark alumnus Doug Tennell, class of 1973, who owns Brickhouse Vineyards in Newburgh, Oregon. Doug allowed me the great privilege of working on his vineyard during harvest last year. I'm going to level with you. I'm from Arizona. I didn't really know what it was like to deal with plants and dirt, but I was eager to learn, and Doug allowed me that great privilege. So what started out as something to keep me busy last summer led to a passion, and yes, now a job. And if it wasn't for the professor who believed in me and my work, the library staff who supported me, and now an alum who is keeping this ball rolling, I couldn't have figured out what I'm passionate about. The thing is my story is a pretty regular occurrence at Lewis and Clark. Not to minimize it, but I'm not the only one here today who has really incredible stories of opportunity and support, and that's remarkable. These things don't happen at other places. They just don't. The other thing I think we forget all too easily is what a sacrifice our families made to send us here. I don't think we have any idea what it takes to save for your entire life to send your kid to a college that is very expensive and often far away. I don't think we have any idea what it takes to have your kid grow up and leave for college. I don't think we know how much of a struggle that process can be for the people who love us the most. I hope that today you take a few minutes to sit down with your family, look them in the eye, thank them, and tell them that it was worth it. I hope you look around right now and realize what a unique experience you've had. I hope you see that you've worked hard, you've made mistakes, and whatever pain you felt then was worth it for the experience you've had over the past 4 years. Tell your family just how much their struggles and yours have made a difference and how it has all been worth it. When I say that the most poetic thing about today is being able to be here with all of you, what I mean is I see my past 4 years in your faces. I see group dinners at the Bone and laughing a lot and pulling all-nighters. I see spring break trips on the coast. I see moving into my first house. I see friends, family, administration, faculty, and staff who have never stopped believing in me. I see myself growing up. I see an environment that has pushed me to stretch and to grow and to become the best version of myself. I see a community that knows my name. I don't know if we're going to get our dream jobs right out the door. But what I do know is that I've loved my time here. I've loved spending it with all of you. I've never met a greater group of people in my whole life. You've made it worth it for me. Thank you.